What's up, people? One Nut Punch here. So I'm going back to Selaco because they released a special campaign and it's on live. It went from public test onto live servers, but it's still in beta and being worked on. There were some things I had issues with when it came down to the randomizer, but let's go ahead and talk about that, the new additions, and some other things that they did to the game. Essentially, when you start off a special campaign, the first thing you have to complete the game one time. You have to complete Chapter 1 before you can unlock Special Mode. And that is by any difficulty whatsoever, but you have to complete it once. And when I did that, I got the achievement, but for some reason it wasn't unlocked, so I did it again, and then I was able to unlock it afterwards. What I'm showing here is all the different randomizer modes. What I did for mine is I added more ammunition, because when you get into the game, you get different guns. You'll get DMR, grenade launcher, you might even get the assault weapons that have like different rarities, like uncommon and rare, epic and legendary, and then you have different ones that give you like additional modifications, such as slug rounds, or when you kill an enemy, it drops frag grenades and blows them up. There's different ones that have like different rarities, like SMGs, cricket, and the frag bomb that has mini rockets when they're fired. The other thing is they spawn turrets in some areas that you wouldn't recognize that have turrets, or they maybe have some items there. That is also random. Enemies are different every time you fight them. The main reason why I added more ammunition was because when you normally do the default settings, you don't get very much ammo or very much items to find. That's even the secret areas that don't have anything whatsoever. So I wanted to add more stuff to be able to find, even if it means more ammo for me to shoot my gun, like the assault rifle, the cricket, or even the DMR that I find later. And again, when it comes down to the different rarities of guns, they will have their own different types of buffs and modifiers for being able to do additional things to enemies. But going down the list, they talk about some of the things when it comes down to Special Campaign. A fully customizable campaign experience, ARPG-style rarity system for both enemies and weapons, weapon trait system where weapons can have new effects and behaviors, random encounter system where new enemies can spawn into level in real time, new unique enemy variants of existing enemies, randomization options including shuffle pickup locations, random weapon spawns, mystery boxes, and more. They also reworked headshots, meaning that when it hits, it actually has a decent-sized hitbox, and it does make a different sound when you hit them with it, like a crushing sound. They also added the behavior for shooting enemies in the legs, meaning that if you shoot them in the legs, now they become immobile or start to get on the ground and slide, so that they try to get out of the way of you shooting at them. They also added a couple mutators, two of them in particular, called Defensive Enemies and Burger Flipper Tester, which I'll talk about a little bit later on as we go down the list of patch notes, but those were just a couple of other things inside the game. They did not release Incursion yet. That's also still a work in progress, which essentially is Horde mode, so that's still in development, but I don't know when that will actually be happening. Also, later on during the video, they did have a sneak peek of what Chapter 2 might look like, including talking about some heavy weapons and some other things. But let's go ahead and talk about some more things in the patch notes before we get all that later on. Depending upon RNG and exactly where you are on the map, there are these gift boxes that you could find that look like they're Christmas wrapped, and when you pick them up, they'll spin around and then pop out a gun. They'll give you better stats or something similar to what you already have. For example, higher magazine size, better recoil, maybe better fire rate. It really depends upon what you're doing in the game or whatever you're picking up. Now, when it comes down to the randomizer, the weapons aren't the only thing that are random. It's also the enemies, and they have elite enemies that have purple things above their heads, like purple triangles. If you kill them, they'll give you a better gun, better armor, more health, more ammunition, or whichever you have items for. Like, for example, I found this assault rifle that gave me leech, or it allows me to get a railgun slug on kill. So there's different things that can go for the different guns you can pick up. And like I said, depending upon rarity, you could actually get something really good and devastating and nothing else will really matter. Mostly when it comes down to me and the grenade launcher, that's my main gun, and then the energy gun when you get to overclock has a higher fire rate than just your assault rifle. I do have a couple of small issues when it comes down to the randomizer itself, and I understand that it's still in beta. However, when it comes down to the actual random items and weapons, you don't start off with different guns. You start off with the assault rifle. The other thing is that there are some corners and some levels that have one or two items spawn, and that's about it. Meaning I will see the same two items over and over and over again rather than an actual different item like a different med kit, different ammunition, an actual gun spawn, maybe a different type of bandage or an armor. And they're always kind of like one or the other, and that's about it when it comes down to the actual spawns of the items. The other thing I'm unsure of when it comes down to the actual beta of the campaign is that I don't know if the enemies change if you die. Sometimes whenever I died in the campaign, that they would have the same units come out to fight me. like the captain or the leader, squad leader, and then his troops. They would have some zombies come up and shoot me with some like fungus type thing, or they would send in the crawlers, which is essentially the robot spiders that come after me, and some jetpack guys. So I know the progression will get harder as you continue on the story. Now, if I didn't talk about it earlier, let's talk about it now, and that's the mutator menu. They talk about new mutators being defensive enemies, burger flipper tester, hard-boiled mode, and hardcore mode. From the defensive enemies down, they say all enemy soldiers are more defensive than usual. They are more likely to keep their distance and surround the player, and less likely to push and be aggressive. This makes Selaco slightly slower pace while maintaining a similar level of difficulty. They also talk about Burger Flipper Tester. Don starts the campaign with Burger Flipper Test Build installed on the wrist computer, locked by default, unlocked by finding Burger Flipper in 3.2 or level 3.2. Hard Boiled Mode. Added customization options to decrease stagger chances of enemies is now optional. Now requires completing Chapter 1 on Captain difficulty or above. Players who already unlocked it in older versions do not have to unlock it again. And then Hardcore Mode. Added customization options. Hardcore reloading is returned. If you prefer the original approach where reloads would discard the remaining ammo of a magazine, it can now be enabled again. So that was another thing that was brought back from the other stuff a long time ago in Selaco. They also improved the enemies, improved the patrol system. When the enemy no longer sees the player at their last known position, enemies will now enter patrol mode. If they see you with a flashlight, they will call it out and start shooting at you. Enemies in patrol mode have a slightly reduced field of view and wander around the encounter zone looking for the player. Chapter 2 will further improve upon this system. Enemy soldiers can now crouch. Enemy soldiers can now throw grenades at the player/allies, turrets, allied NPCs, and etc. Essentially, it means that the enemies are tougher to deal with, besides just the normal skills as you progress through the story and the campaign. But I want to talk about this before the end of the video, and this is the state of development and Chapter 2. What they show in this small video is you using a Gatling gun, and this is from basically the Juggernauts that you normally fight. You can only use it and then drop it once it's done. They also talk about one of the levels takes place in a mansion, new defensive items, including a deployable mini turret, which comes in its own upgrade, heavy weapons. These weapons are extremely powerful but cannot store in your inventory. Enemy miniguns can be picked up. Drop pods can result in unexpected encounters when venturing outside, and friendly NPCs, as well as showing these looks like a mech that you could pilot inside the game as well. But those are just a couple of things that they were showing during the teaser, and I'm hoping for more stuff with Chapter 2 when Selaco puts out more stuff later, and I'll keep people posted as time goes on. But that's all I got for this beta and everything going on with Chapter 2. I've been One Nut Punch, and this has been the Selaco video for the special campaign. Thanks for watching as per usual, and I'll see you later in the next one.